Ukraine launches massive drone attack on Vladimir Putin. The Ukrainian military is fighting back. According to Russian reports, more than 10 Ukrainian drones were shot down by Russian air defenses on Sunday night. According to Russian claims, more than 10 Ukrainian drones were shot down by Russian air defenses on Sunday night. Das Verteidigungsministerium in Moskau berichtet, dass insgesamt 11 Drohnen zerstört worden sind in den Regionen Moskau, Tula, Kaluga und Bryansk nahe der Ukraine. Der Drohnenangriff auf Kiew's word bestätigt. Die Behörde gaben keine details bekannt. After Trumpers broke through a home in Tula, one person was slightly hurt. A further drone was successfully neutralized near the city of Podolsk in southern Moscow region. The claims could not be verified independently. The city of Tula is 160 kilometers south of Moscow, and the region of Kaluga is about 200 kilometers southwest. The air defense has warned of a larger drone attack on the capital, wrote Sergei Sobyanin, mayor of Moscow, on Telegram. 2 drones were shot down over the region, according to a telegram message sent by the governor of the Bryansk region, Alexander Bogomas. Zunächst war ein Kiewisch Reaction auf die angeblichen Drohnenangriff nicht vorgesehen. Russia launched an attack one day earlier. According to Ukrainian officials, 71 Russian drones were shot down during the night of Saturday. Der Luftwaffe word mitgeteilt, dass ein Großteil der Skate-Drohnen iranischer Bord über der Hauptstadtregion zerstört worden sei. Ukrainian officials spoke of the worst attack on Kyiv since the beginning of the Russian invasion in February 2022. According to Ukrainian reports, Russia attacked Kyiv again with drones on Saturday night. Drohnen, die in der Hauptstadt abgeschossen wurden, berichtet Kyiv's Bürgermeister Witali Klitschko auf Telegram. This resulted in breaks at multiple locations, including a residential building and a kindergarten. Several people, including an 8-year-old child, had been injured. People should remain in their shelters as long as the attack lasted. By comparing and contrasting the speeches given by Chinese President Xi Jinping and Joe Biden at the APEC CEOs Summit in San Francisco on November 15, we can gain a better understanding of the growing geopolitical chasm between the U.S. and China, which is resembling a new Cold War. In a speech characterized by quiet confidence, the Chinese president positioned his country alongside the United States and Japan as 2 global powers that will influence the future of the world. He also brought up the fact that 30 years ago, at the first APEC economic leaders meeting, the leaders had resolved to put an end to the outdated mentality of bloc confrontation and strengthen economic cooperation in order to create a peaceful and prosperous community in the Asia-Pacific region. He warned against the tendency to provoke antagonism and stressed that the unprecedented progress of cooperation between the Asia-Pacific countries during this time, which accounted for 70% of the world's economic growth, could set a new standard for international collaboration. The world has entered into a new period of turbulence and change, he noted, and he urged a relaunch of cooperation and dedication to the founding mission of APEC in the Asia-Pacific region. In order to preserve prosperity and stability in the Asia-Pacific region, Xi Jinping advocated for dialogue and partnership rather than confrontation and challenge. Bringing to mind the fact that the United Nations Charter was signed in San Francisco, his claims that China is the most powerful engine of global growth were based on the country's systemic socialist market economy, its enormous market size, and its abundance of high-caliber workers and entrepreneurs. The goal of China's high-quality growth and high-value-added green economic growth, he asserted, has been achieved. As he celebrated the success of the 3rd BRI Forum for International Cooperation that had produced 458 deliverables, he proclaimed China's dedication to development and reassured the participants that their doors would always be open. Thus, Xi Jinping painted a positive picture of China's development and its central role in global progress, reassuring the world that China was determined to become a superpower via economic means rather than military force. In his remarks at the APEC conference, Biden firmly asserted American interest in the Asia-Pacific region. He pointed out that the 21 APEC economies account for 2/3 of global GDP and have the potential to become the leading source of global growth in the future. He envisioned a future where our prosperity is shared and is inclusive, and where workers are empowered and their rights are respected. He told the gathering that the U.S. economy had grown by 4.9%, the most in 2 years, and that more Americans were working than ever before in the nation's history. The heads of state and business were reassured by him that the United States, a powerful power in the Pacific, could be relied upon. It is worth noting that Biden revealed that during his meeting with Xi Jinping the previous day, the Chinese leader had inquired as to the U.S.'s involvement in the Pacific. In response, Biden stated, "It is because of us that there was peace and security in the region, allowing it to grow." Xi Jinping did not deny that, Biden said, restating his position that we are not going anywhere for decades to come due to the region's growing importance to the United States. He declared his determination to responsibly manage the competition between the U.S. and the PRC, and disclosed that he had brought this up with Xi Jinping, assuring him that the U.S. does not seek conflict. Instead of decoupling from the PRC, Biden explained that the U.S. was de-risking its economic ties with them. He did concede that the United States and China have differing views on creating a level economic playing field, but that these differences will be addressed diplomatically. Biden stressed that there was no ambiguity on either side. He asserted that we have taken target action to protect our national security interest while simultaneously informing the conference that the United States had restored military-to-military communication channels to reduce the risk of accidental miscalculation. The U.S. and Chinese presidents met for 4 hours and likely made a hard evaluation of each other's leadership abilities. This meeting could end up being very significant. Both leaders were careful to emphasize that a strong partnership between the world's two biggest economies is good for everyone, and they seem to have also agreed to collaborate on pressing global concerns like climate change, AI, and drug policy. After the two countries met, tensions would subside and they could focus on trade and economic development. With the likelihood of a military conflict greatly diminished, the Chinese president, Xi Jinping, would be satisfied with the cooperation if it meant China's economic strategy could focus solely on growth, closing the gap between the largest developing economy and the largest developed economy, as he put it in his speech. The likelihood of major American corporations investing in China has grown. The benefits of this bilateral summit were largely felt by Xi Jinping. It would appear that President Biden views Russia under Vladimir Putin as its greatest enemy, especially in light of the military conflict between Russia and Ukraine. He is opposed to fostering an environment that strengthens the China-Russia axis. Among other things, that is the goal of our economic engagement with China. But Xi Jinping plans to make China a superpower soon by expanding its economic influence abroad, so there will be a new Cold War on the horizon, with China, not Russia, leading the bloc that competes with the United States. In the midst of the Israel-Hamas conflict, China's strategy to strengthen its influence in the Muslim world has come to light. This is because China has struck a compromise with Islamic radicals, who saw the US-led West as their primary adversary, and who now find themselves politically aligned with China. Afghanistan's Taliban emirate and China's adaptation to it are examples of this. Unlike Trump, who took a stronger stance towards China, Biden has definitely taken a more accommodating stance. Furthermore, prior to Biden's entrance, Trump had a positive view of Russian President Vladimir Putin. However, this view has since been completely reversed for strategic reasons. India cares about the US-China relationship. Regardless of the current state of this relationship, India faces growing security threats from a hostile Sino-Pak axis, Islamic radicals operating in the Pak-Afghan belt, and anti-India lobbies that are trying to create a narrative about minorities in India not being protected. A resurgence of Khalistan militancy in Punjab could be an attempt by Pakistan. An important part of India's strategy is elevating the Indo-US friendship to new heights without letting go of its vital ties with Russia. India must maintain its stance against radicalization, especially in light of the recent Israel-Hamas conflict in the Muslim world, where there is a schism between moderate and extremist groups and more traditional Islamic states that align with the United States. India is in favor of two states and wants peace restored so that civilians aren't killed anymore. For the sake of maintaining a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific, India must maintain its cooperation with multilateral forums and remain vigilant against any aggressive actions in the Indian Ocean. India will have to deal with issues like Chinese plans for the Latin American and Caribbean region and the ongoing cross-border terrorism in Kashmir. Independently, India is making good use of the policy framework that addresses all of these issues. Because of this, our nation is now seen as a reliable voice in international discussions about war and peace.